The United States Senate today officially putting Donald Trump on trial, subjecting him to a process that, let's be clear, most presidents never have to endure, this public debate over whether he is fit for office and should he be allowed to serve his full term. And today, these newly appointed 7 House managers who are pressing this case for conviction and removal walked over to the Senate where the Sergeant-at-Arms began the trial proceedings.
The Sergeant-at-Arms will make the proclamation.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons are commanded to keep silent on pain of imprisonment while the House of Representatives is exhibiting to the Senate of the United States articles of impeachment against Donald John Trump, President of the United States.
Impeachment manager Adam Schiff reading the case against Trump, the formal text of those articles, essentially the indictment. Senate Leader McConnell then announcing that he will send an official summons to Donald Trump today. That's under the rules. And then came this rarity, the swearing in of the Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts, and then the senators themselves, each one pledging to do impartial justice.
Will all senators now stand or remain standing and raise their right hand? Do you solemnly swear that in all things appertaining to the trial of the impeachment of Donald John Trump, President of the United States, now pending, you will do impartial justice according to the Constitution and laws, so help you God?
That's what it looks like. The Senate jurors signing their names then to that same oath in a book for posterity. But unlike every other past impeachment, we should note, as we collect the facts and present them to you, that some of these very senators have publicly announced their intention to violate that oath. Across American history, protest movements have chanted, "This is what democracy looks like." You've probably heard that before. Well, you could think about today like this. In our system of government, this is what accountability looks like. This is very real, very visible, and it's already yielding some accountability. This is how the Constitution shows no person is above the law. The president is special, of course, and under our system, it is the president who faithfully executes the laws. So the president is not normally indicted by the Justice Department, but under our system, if the House decides a president committed high crimes, he is still put on trial. He is not above the law. He is not above being judged even in office. And if there were ever a day to put aside the predictions and the punditry and the cynicism even, it's today, as this trial shows the system of checks and balances and, yes, norms pushing back against a president who has so thoroughly flouted them. This accountability is also clearly moving beyond what you might call the pomp or the presentations of the Senate floor itself. It includes the accounting of a new witness breaking his silence to accuse Trump of informed support of Rudy Giuliani's plot.
President Trump knew exactly what was going on. I wouldn't do anything without the consent of Rudy Giuliani or the president.
The Vice President Pence was tasked at that meeting with getting President Zelensky to announce investigations of Joe Biden specifically.
Yes. His message was, it wasn't just military aid, it was all aid. Basically, the relationships would be sour, that we would stop giving him any kind of aid. It was never about corruption. It was strictly about the Burisma, which included Hunter Biden and Joe Biden.
Now, with that fallout and more of that interview, as mentioned, coming out tonight, a new finding came in from a federal watchdog that the financial part of that same Ukraine plot was illegal, which adds to the evidence that witnesses could speak to in the trial, and Democrats stressing the need for such witnesses.
We took a very solemn oath. It's a very serious matter.
We need to hear from the witnesses that were in the room.
The witnesses are not Democrats. They are the president's men.
I don't know what all these witnesses are going to say, but we have a constitutional duty to get to the truth.
Demanding that the American public and each member of this body receive all evidence, documents, and individuals who are witnesses.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.